Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. When we talk about tech today, it is so easy to just get completely lost in the weeds, right? The specs, the processing speeds, those endless strings of data. But if we strip all of that away, what are we actually left with? Well, it's just that fundamental human desire to connect, to be understood, to share our ideas with the world around us. So today, we're unpacking the source material behind LELAIL. And we aren't just looking at another piece of software here. We are talking about a complete paradigm shift in how we interact with AI across the globe.
So what does multilingual AI actually mean in practice? I really want you to rethink your assumptions here for a second. We've all been trained to think of AI as this super clinical thing, lines of code, algorithms, automated inputs. But let's shift our focus away from that clinical code and move straight toward our shared human experience. Because in practice, true multilingual tech shouldn't feel like a machine crunching a dictionary. It should feel like a bridge between communities, something that actually gets the nuances of how we express ourselves every single day, no matter where we were born.
Look at the stark contrast here. Most AI tools translate, but LELAIL communicates. Let that sink in for a second, because there is a massive structural difference between merely swapping words around and genuinely connecting with the intent behind those words. Translation, that's basically just a math problem, finding the equivalent term. And as we all know, math totally misses the nuance. If you literally translate the English phrase piece of cake into another language, you're not telling someone a task is easy, you're literally just confusing them with random baked goods. Communication, on the other hand, is an art. It's about making sure the emotion, the humor, the urgency, and the true meaning arrive completely intact.
Because there absolutely is a difference. Language is never just data. Language is identity, its history, its geography, its personality. When we treat language as just a mechanical translation task, plugging a sentence into a formula and waiting for a localized output, we completely miss the soul of the message. Serving up a clunky word-for-word translation to global users just flat out fails the test of real communication.
I want you to consider the reality of someone who thinks and feels in a language other than English. Think about the immense cultural weight and the emotional reality of navigating life in your native tongue. We don't just speak, right? We dream, we joke, we mourn, and we celebrate in the language we were raised in. If an AI is built totally around an English framework and then just sort of retrofitted to handle other languages as an afterthought, it lacks basic empathy. It forces the user to deal with a system that doesn't actually understand how they think or feel. So it's not just about translated words. It is entirely about cultural context. Every single language has these rich, unspoken traditions behind its vocabulary. Take Japanese or Korean, for example. They have completely different sentence structures and vocabularies depending on the social hierarchy of the people talking. A literal English translation just wipes all that crucial context right off the map. LELAIL's approach honors that complexity. It realizes that if you strip away the culture, you aren't really communicating at all. You're just broadcasting this sterilized, hollow echo of the original thought.
And this is how LELAIL puts that into action, through natural spoken responses and contextual learning. This proves that genuine AI has to adapt to human conversational rhythms. Be honest for a second. Have you ever talked to a voice assistant and suddenly realized you're using this stiff, unnatural phrasing, over-enunciating every single syllable just so the machine understands you? Yeah, you were adapting to the robot. LELAIL flips that script completely. It gives you learning and responses that actually make sense to your brain, rather than forcing you to bend to the limitations of a machine.
Ultimately, this boils down to interacting in the language you actually live in. And this deeply honest, human, globally aware approach, it actually matters to daily lives all over the world. Whether someone is trying to scale a business, learn a new skill, or literally just organize their day, doing it in the exact language they live, breathe, and think in is profoundly empowering. It removes friction. It restores dignity to global users who, let's be real, are way too often treated as secondary markets in the tech world.
But how do you actually deliver on a promise like that? Well, let's look at the concrete differentiators here. Voice first. This is absolutely huge. Think about it. Human beings have been speaking to each other for hundreds of thousands of years, but we've only been typing on glass screens for about 15. Voice is absolutely our most instinctual, natural way to express ourselves. By designing this AI to be fundamentally voice-driven from the ground up, the tech just gets out of the way. It gives you this seamless, immediate flow of thought, removing the barrier of text, to capture the raw authenticity of how we actually talk.
And we aren't just talking about covering the top 5 or 10 most profitable languages in the world and calling it a day. This scales to over 100+ languages natively.
It's about real, wide-reaching global inclusivity. It's acknowledging that a brilliant idea or a vital question holds the exact same value whether it's spoken in a dominant global language or a regional dialect. By natively supporting over 100 languages, the technology is stepping up to meet the world exactly as it is, vast, diverse, and incredibly vocal.
Now here is the kicker that ties all this accessibility together. One unified price. Because radical accessibility isn't just about the technology working, it's about the tech actually being within reach. You shouldn't be penalized with premium tiers or extra add-ons just because the language you think in happens to not be English. By offering all of this incredible, voice-first, culturally aware communicative power at a single price point, the playing field is completely leveled. It makes a bold statement: global access should be the standard, not an upsell.
Which all points back to one singular mission: no one left behind. As our world relies more and more on artificial intelligence to navigate our daily lives, we have to stop and ask ourselves a fundamental question. If our tools don't speak the language we actually live in, who are we leaving behind?